It all comes down to this. It all comes down to this. And I was at the gym earlier. Normally, I don't go into my personal life. You don't need to hear about it. I go to the gym earlier, and I find myself doing a set of rows. And I'm going, 76%. 76%. And I look over, and someone next to me has a Falcons hat on. I'm dead serious. This actually happened. And the Falcons could give the Panthers a gift potentially by beating the Saints. The Panthers don't even need to win on Saturday night. They can still get in with the Falcons win. Their odds are high, 76% chance to win. I know some of you who listen to this program don't even like that. You'd rather that the Panthers be an underdog. You'd rather that they have a 2% chance to make the big dance. And if you ask me, for my take, coming off a 54-yard passing yard game from Bryce Young, the offense looked abysmal. Well, Tampa Bay isn't a clean product either, believe me. It's a lot like 4 a.m. in St. Pete's. 4 a.m. at a dive bar in St. Pete's. That's how the Bucs look. There's nothing good going on at 4 a.m. in St. Pete's. There's absolutely nothing good going on. It's just the gambling rings and the drunks. They're on the streets. Baker Mayfield is the lone chaperone trying to hold it together. Too bad Baker Mayfield is like the uncle that we used to go to his house to mess around. It's like, that was the house you went to in high school to get away with the bad stuff. That is Baker Mayfield, who is looking like he's in the Wild West. He had 350 yards passing against the Dolphins on Sunday. 2 touchdowns, but he also had 3 bad turnovers too. Didn't protect the ball, and it came after a game against the Panthers where they ran it 30-plus times, didn't really give Baker a ton of attempts. They gave him 26. It was run heavy. This week, the Panthers face the Bucs. Is it going to be run heavy again? Well, Josh Broussard, their OC, says everything starts with the run. It starts with it. Which I say is a good and bad thing for the Panthers. Bucky Irving has not done much these past few weeks. 44 carries, 150 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. He has not played well. And they have forced the run. Now, last year in 2024, my whole pregame speech, tone in the locker room, my whole pregame speech, don't let Bucky Irving get going. He had 6 yards per carry against the Panthers last year, and I think 5 in the last game they played against the Bucs. That's still a key this week for me, especially with Claude and Cherylus being out. Trevin Wallace, we all know he's out. Your linebackers are banged up. You're going to have Bam Martin-Scott out there who doesn't have a ton of playing experience. Good special teamer. Don't think he's a starting linebacker. Roseboom out there as well. He's not good as your lead guy. We know that. Roseboom has elevated at times this season. He's looked good. It's been when Wallace is out there, Wallace is wearing the green dot. Or Cherylus, too. Cherylus actually has been pretty good for the Panthers. But he's out, too. So, again, key to the game, you got to stop the run. You do. You got to stop the run against this Bucs team. Because if Bucky goes out there and has 150 yards, which would be his total from the past 3 games as well, then instantly you're putting Bryce Young and this offense in a tough spot. And I think the offense is going to have some opportunities. I'm going to talk about all the paths to the playoffs the Panthers can possibly have. I'm going to talk about my faith level in this coaching staff. I think Canales is going to be huge in this game. I think Young is going to be huge in this game. I talk about Young more than I talk about Canales, quite frankly, because I think the quarterback position is infinitely more important than anything else, any other position in sports. But I think in short, you want the short-winded answer. Panthers offense versus this Bucs team, I think you're going to get a ton of opportunities. There was a play, so a 63-yard touchdown. You might have saw it in the highlight reel. And it was really an underwhelming 63-yard touchdown, to be honest. Godwin had a nice long catch against the Dolphins. There are a couple highlights in that Dolphins-Bucs game. This was a 63-yard touchdown. Quinn Ewers to Theo Weiss. Theo Weiss Jr. He's a junior. And I go, this is the most underwhelming touchdown pass I've ever seen in my life. Quinn Ewers, he snaps the ball. It's a two-step drop. He's just staring at Theo Weiss the whole time. It's like the tone playing Madden. It's like me playing Madden. I just smash the X button. Like, I go to the same guy every time. I'd be a terrible quarterback because I would just go back there and throw it to the Justin Jefferson just so I can do the freaking gritty in the end zone. Well, that's how Quinn Ewers looked on this rep. Just eyeing down the receiver, does not even progress. Literally, Weiss is just wide open from the start. It's a breakdown in coverage. And maybe he knew that pre-snap, so maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. That could be the case, certainly. But it looked on film, just like you just see his eyes like, oh, this guy's open. Oh. And Ewers just throws it to Theo Weiss. Actually underthrows him, but he's so wide open it doesn't even matter. And it's a 63-yard touchdown. They gave up a couple big runs to Jalen Wright, the running back in Miami. And I'm not telling you this because I'm a Bucs fan watching Baker and the Bucs. I'm telling you this because I think their defense is going to break down. And you're coming off a game against Seattle where the game plan was tightened up. They had 11 days of preparation. You had some of the best cornerback play I have seen the Panthers face all season. And I think Young has had opportunities to throw it downfield. And I know he should have done more than 54 yards passing. I get that. That was a good defense you faced. A really good defense, the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm not underestimating the Bucs. Believe me, I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson when I sat here and told you in good faith the first game the Panthers had against the Saints, where I said, Tyler Shuck, whatever, blah, 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 Shuck suck, same thing. And I underestimated him. I underestimated Kellen Moore. I underestimated that opponent. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not doing it. I refuse to do that. But this Bucs defense is falling apart, so much so that they're literally screaming fire Todd Bowles. So he's running off the field. And I don't normally feel bad for the opponent. I don't. I actually just, as a human, feel bad for Todd Bowles because I think he has been put through the ringer in Tampa completely. You watch him in the post-game press conferences, it's like he looks like he's at a funeral. He looks like he has seen something, like just letting out a grunt. It's painful to speak. Like, I'm serious. I'm not trying to make light of this. It is a serious thing going on in Tampa. He does not look like he has the ship together. He does not look like he's captaining the ship. So what happens? Well, you have Baker Mayfield, the proverbial pirate, jumping up. He's got his beard. He's got the 5 o'clock shadow, and he grabs the ship, and it's like there's an iceberg, and then there's a bunch of things, and the coach is just like, sitting in the corner. And Baker's trying to write this thing, but he's kind of got like one eye open. He was at the dive bar in St. Pete's a little bit too late last night. And he's trying to navigate the iceberg. You have no idea what's in front of you. And that's the Bucs. And they have some talent. They have like 5 wide receivers on that team that can really play. So that scares me. But your offense is going to be able to pick apart this defense. You should be able to do that. And I thought it was interesting. Canales in his press conference. I don't have this clip. We're going to go into a ton of clips in a minute here. I just have a couple points I want to make quick. Canales in his press conference goes, I don't think they're going to be able to do what Seattle did against us. They don't have the personnel. It's not in their scheme. So it's plays that their players can't run, and they don't have the same personnel. So a lot of the looks you got, I thought the stunts, the different pressures that Seattle schemed up against Young, also, just the play of the corners. Robert Parrish, don't underestimate those young corners in Tampa. They played T-Mac. They played your receivers pretty tight. They did. And Young made some really good throws in that game, to his credit. My gosh. Still, it's not what you face against in Seattle. There will be opportunities. A ton of breakdowns for the Tampa defense against Miami. Will Young take advantage of it? Well, on the other side, not saying Baker's getting hot. He had the game-ending turnover against you, Lathan Ransom, intercepting the ball as Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield weren't on the same page. game-sealing interception to Lathan Ransom. Baker comes back in the game against the Dolphins, has 2 picks. Just throwing it, hucking it around the yard all day. Got a strip sack from Bradley Chubb. He hit an incentive on that play. He was motivated to get after the Bucs quarterback. 3 turnovers. Baker's going to turn it over. You need that. Key to the game. Turn the ball over. Make him throw some. He'll give you opportunities. So you need one. Young's got to limit them. No balls out of the vicinity of T-Mac. Throwing on the outside shoulder when you should be throwing to the inside shoulder. You got to keep the ball on target if you're Young. Don't turn it over. And stop this run. I mentioned it. You're going to be without your linebackers. It'll be Bam Martin Scott and Christian Roseboom in there. That's concerning. Tristan Wirfs is banged up, and the Panthers have been able to stop the run. Aside from the performance against the Seahawks last week, I thought Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker at points really were able to rip off some big runs. And if it weren't for some shoestring tackles from your defensive backs like Morig and Horn, then you're talking about big runs to the house from Charbonnet and Walker. So you got to clean that up. But Bucky Irving over his last 3, 16 for 60, 19 for 71. That was against the Panthers. 9 for 19. These are his rushing yard totals, 150 total yards over the past 3. 3.7 yards per carry. Stop him. Don't let him beat you. Don't let him beat you like they beat the Panthers last year. The Bucs did with the run. I'm going to do a minute on this because it's really important, and I don't want people to drop off before I go into some more really important stuff, but you need to know this because this is like literally big news and is what you need to know as you watch these games this weekend. So even if the Panthers lose, I don't even want to say it too loud, they can still get in if the Falcons win, which I actually feel really good about. So I'm being positive this whole video before we go and talk about the play calling in a minute. And then we're going to go positive again at the end. But the Falcons, I think, should win. They're at home. Olave's out. So really unfortunate news for Chris Olave. Again, I'm like really sympathizing with the divisional rivals here because they're going through some crap. Chris Olave, unfortunately, has a blood clot. Really scary. I didn't read too much into the injury, but that type of stuff is very scary. So sad for him. He will miss week 18, and he was about to play every game this season, healthy. So sad news for him on that front, but also wishing him the best because a blood clot is very, very scary. I believe he is doing okay in the hospital, but he will not play, which means Tyler Shuck will be without his number 1 target. Olave has 100-plus yards receiving in his last 2. That's going to make it tough for the Saints, who have won 4 straight games. And they're on fire, and I know a lot of people in the national media are like, well, the Falcons and Saints should be in the playoffs, not the Panthers. Like, shut up. Can't we have fun? 76% chance to make the playoffs for the Panthers. Can't you just let us have it? Like, the Panthers beat the Packers. They beat the Rams. They beat good teams. They deserve to be there. Honestly, if you're telling me traveling to the bank, I would be scared. Now, as Panthers fans, we know that the prophecy is they win one, they lose one. So even if they win this week against the Bucs, they're probably going to lose in the playoffs. That's just the pattern that's been established over the past 3 months. But I still think they're a formidable opponent in the playoffs, as much as some of the other NFC South counterparts. Good defense that can force turnovers. I wouldn't want to play the Panthers in the playoffs. You never know if Mike Jackson's going to rip off a pick 6 or J.C. Horn's going to get 2 INTs like he did in the 4th quarter against the Jets. Or if Nick Scorton or Derek Brown are going to get some pressure. Who knows? A million things can happen. Or Bryce Young catches lightning in a bottle like he did against the Falcons. 400 yards. Who knows? I'm not doing playoff talk yet. No, we're not doing that. We're focused on Saturday. against the Bucs, the Panthers. They need to win the game. And I'm not going to talk about alternates like the Falcons winning, because even if the Panthers lose and the Falcons win, the Panthers are still in. I have faith in the Falcons to pull off a win over the Saints as a fail-safe. Those birds. I'm telling you, that guy at the gym with the Falcons hat on, he was staring at me like I was a ribeye steak or something. He goes, I want to help you, bro. I want to help you out. That pass rush will get after Shuck, and he'll be without his top target, Chris Olave. And the Saints have some injuries on defense. Don't underestimate small, lingering injuries to Demario Davis and Brian Bryce, two of their best defensive players. Can't underestimate those types of injuries against the Falcons, who are hot. They've won their last 3 games. Bijan Robinson, the Falcons, they're the team with all the talent, yet they do nothing year in and year out. That is the Falcons. It's like they can have whatever primetime highlight big name player out there, and they will still not win. But they will win on Sunday, I'm confident. They just won't win at a high level or make the playoffs. They have a 0% chance to make the playoffs, but we won't talk about that because this week we are Falcons fans. Let's talk about this. Dave Canales. You know what? There's one Robert Oppenheimer and there's a million MIT scientists. There's one Oppenheimer and there's a million guys who have researched something. There's one Oppenheimer. And I say this because there's one Sean McVay, there's a million play callers. There's one Kyle Shanahan, there's a million play callers. I want Sean McVay from Canales this week. And you've seen glimpses of play design. You've seen glimpses of it. You haven't seen it with the consistency of a great play caller. And that is something I have never given credit to Canales for being. I don't think he's a super innovative, creative play caller. Well, he did say in his press conference he will be giving some of his best stuff. He didn't act like he saved a ton of stuff, but I'll put words in his mouth. They've definitely prioritized this game a little bit more. They're going into this with their everything on the table, everything they can. And earlier, weeks ago, I was saying Bowles might have the edge over Canales just because Bowles is under the gun and Bowles is coaching for his job. But honestly, after watching the game against Miami, I think it's more of a crap show in Tampa than it is a guy who is responding well to the urgency. In other words, you take 2 people and you tell one person, your job's on the line, perform, and you tell the next person, your job is safe, but we want to see you in the playoffs. Well, usually I would say person A, the guy that's under fire, will perform better. I don't know. Down the stretch, it really hasn't shaken out that way. So we'll have to see, but we will need to see more from the play calling. Here is Dave Canales talking about how his play calls will reflect what the team can execute. Here is the Panthers coach.
Go a little deeper into your bag when you're game planning this week? A
little bit, but at the same time, I have to be aware of what our guys can handle, and that's really my biggest responsibility, Brad and I, is identifying the scope of what we can handle from a football standpoint with this group. How much run game can we handle? How much pass game? How many little wrinkles and nuances? Because all those things, even when you're running plays that have several different motions and, you're trying to get a defense in a specific look and all that. Those take a lot of timing, a lot of detail, and they're different. They're different than the normal calls that you would make. So they require as much, if not a little bit more attention. And so you got to be careful about how much you try to do extra. The goal is to play fast. And I know that the best way to play fast is to have concepts that we're very confident with, that we're very comfortable with. And that gives us the best chance to have success.
Canales there saying he will call plays that he is confident that the players are confident in, plays that they believe that they can execute. Which, at first listen, I thought to myself, is he talking about the quarterback? Partly that has to be your takeaway. There's things that he's not ready for us to add to the system or whatever. I think the receivers as well, they're definitely playing into that evaluation there. But I think it's all a large way of saying for Canales that we're 2 years into the Dave Canales, Bryce Young tandem, and the coaching staff largely has been constant. Now, in Brad Idzik's press conference, he was talking about how everyone was in the quarterback's room. Joe Gilbert, Mike Bercovici, Will Herringer, they work with the quarterbacks. And specifically, they were around the TV, around the projector, talking about pressure, third down, how Young diagnoses what the defense is doing, the pre-snap operation. So I am just combining everything, and I'm going to say Canales feels the play calling is rudimentary. In his answer, he's telling you it's because the guys aren't confident they can execute it. And to me, what I'm going to say is, does he need to be super confident in his players to have plays with really awesome play design? Like that route he called for Jalen Coker against the Bucs, where you pick up 18 yards, and Coker actually did what Puka Nacua did a few weeks before, which is he ran a route. It was a C-gap route. So he's literally running it between the line, blocking, and you get Coker. He was wide open, 18 yards, chunk play. Plays like that. Do you need everyone on the offense to be a superstar, to have the processing ability of Phillip Rivers or Kirk Cousins or these veteran quarterbacks? Do you need everyone to be a superstar to execute that? Or can the coach say, well, maybe these guys don't know everything yet. Maybe these guys aren't super well developed and cerebrally a veteran. They don't have the football IQ of a guy that's been around the block. So a little bit concerning. I think this is more of a big picture clip. I think a key for this game is we need Canales to be a McVay. We need him to be a Shanahan. Hopefully you get some of his best stuff. But at a certain point, this offense is looking more and more like Nana's pasta sauce. It's like it takes generations to build this thing. It takes hundreds of years to create the concoction of tomatoes and peppers that go into the sauce. Like my cousin pulls me over at Christmas. He's like, come taste this. Come taste this. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, I take the spoon of sauce. I'm like, dude, this is so good. What's your recipe? And he his face dropped completely. He's like, I can't tell you that. Like my Italian grandmother locked me in a room, tied me up to a chair, dimmed the lights, and said this a recipe to me in Da Vinci Code. It's like, you can't give away the recipe. It came from her grandmother, her grandmother, before her grandmother. It just got passed down. And that's what this offense is looking like. It's going to take 100 million years. It's a glacial development. A glacial development. I don't know. And here's Brad Idzik on Bryce Young specifically and the offense's growth.
And you mentioned the pre-snap and the cadence. That was something that was like a strength of his coming out of college. Why does it seem like it's taken a little while to maybe kick in the NFL?
I think that's a learning curve for a lot of quarterbacks, just going from the college systems to the pro systems. And then I can't speak to anything before when we got here, but anytime you're putting in a new system, new verbiage, there's a whole learning curve of how you communicate things. There's also, how much do we want to give the offense in year one? And as the offense grows from year one to year two, things that we can add to his tool belt. You're really trying to get everything off the ground, in those initial stages and make sure that everybody's, marching in the right direction together. And then as you grow, you get to continue to add things to it. And Bryce is, he's taken all those things in and continue to grow with this offense and really push the guys forward of, hey, we need all buy into all this pre-snap stuff that we're trying to do to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance to take advantage of matchups.
So I think this game is going to be so big for the Panthers, the offense, how this thing projects into the future. This moment cannot be underestimated. Yes, this is huge for the franchise and Tepper, who's probably watching with his monocle on, wanting the public, the press, the good press that's going to come his way. It's going to be great. And he'll deserve it if the Panthers are able to make the playoffs, especially if they're able to make it at 9-8. And I think that's just a lot bigger than getting bailed out by the Falcons. Honestly, I think that's just optical. And I think another storyline, too, that you cannot underestimate in this game is 9-8 with a strong offensive performance, playoff berth, or 8-9 stalling offense, bad performance, and maybe you don't make the playoffs. Again, don't want to talk about any of this now, but it's like this is big for the offense and their trajectory. And Idzik is talking there about the offense growing and how this thing is still in the preliminary stages. Now, I'm going to react more to this in the coming weeks. This is off-season content for me. I literally have this clip labeled, but I just want to tell you this because sometimes it feels a little bit like a con. It's like they tell us different things all the time. Sometimes it's, well, we can't deploy these types of routes because the quarterback can't throw it. That's what they were saying earlier this season. The downfield routes, the vertical routes, those combinations. And now it's like, well, the pre-snap stuff and Mike Bercovici and all the Panthers people are lined up around the television trying to help the quarterback. So this is where they're at. They're still in this growth phase. They're still in this growth phase, and they believe that there's a lot more to be unlocked. 2 years in. 2 years in. And again, this is off-season content, but I think on Saturday, rather, I said Sunday earlier. On Saturday, this is the narrative that's going to be revisited at length. And believe me, 9-8 in a playoff berth is going to be a lot better come draft time. It's going to be a lot better come free agency. You want to go and get a nice star receiver for Bryce Young? You want to go get I don't know who's available on the market, but you want to make another decision like that? Look, I think the last 3 games of 2024 are part of the reason they drafted T-Mac. They said, oh, this guy can play, Bryce Young. 10 touchdowns, 0 turnovers in his last 3 in 2024. We'll take his guy. We'll take the guy that went to high school 12 miles from him. Heck yeah. We'll take the guy he's pounding the table for. Well, the good news is I don't think Bryce Young is fazed by this moment. I don't think he is. Bryce Young, his development, I think what he has right now going for him is the moment usually isn't too big for him. It's not. And this is a hilarious exchange between Bryce Young. I believe it was Joe Person who had the question. This was so funny. Here is Bryce Young talking about the moment coming on Saturday.
You had this similar scenario in college where you played Georgia in the conference game and then again in the Natty. What do you take from that experience in terms of seeing him a second time?
Yeah, big reach.
So I love that. I love that answer. It just, this guy who's constantly saying the right thing, constantly doing the public relations thing, and that's good, right? You don't have Rodgers up there talking about pot and how much he hates the political environment or whatever. You don't have him talking about that. You have a quarterback that really cares about saying the right thing, and I think he is bought into the team and protecting the team. That's what Canales preaches. And it shows these press conferences, but that little clip there is hilarious to me because it's just like, you effing people who are 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. I log on to X and it's like, sometimes they hate me, sometimes they love me. You know what, Joe? I love you, Joe, but that's a big reach comparing this game to the Alabama versus, I believe, what was he talking about? The SEC championship and then the later playoff game. So I love his attitude. right there. You see a little bit of the humanity of him. But also, I think it's just like, this isn't a big game. I don't believe in big games. Every game's a championship when you're literally playing for your job every week. And in many ways, you can't put this guy in a box. It's like the ups and downs of Bryce Young and his consistent performances in the big moments, the clutch fourth quarter drives, I think the must-win games, like that game against the Rams was a must-win for the Panthers. I think if you lost that game, I mean, you would have needed to beat the Saints, but that win was huge in the moment. I think the playoff odds were like 14% going into that game against the Rams, and Young gives you a really good second half. A really good second half with some big anticipation throws down the field to Coker, down the field to T-Mac. Yes, Emmanuel Forbes was falling down, but they were big throws. He stood in the pocket. And sometimes in the moment is big, this guy has his big performances. So I'm looking for that on Saturday. I love that Bryce Young is like the guy that you just don't understand at work. Sometimes he pisses you off so much. It's like, can you just do it once? Can you just get it done one time? But minutes before the task is due, he'll get it done. Minutes before you got to give your reports to the boss, he'll do it. So I'm hoping that is Bryce Young's performance on Saturday. And maybe they'll get David Moore back. Maybe they just will. Maybe that'll be the final Christmas gift. Dave Canales will get his guy, David Moore, on the field, who I think low-key could help. Sneakily could help Joe Person. Dave Canales is more bullish on David Moore's chances of playing than Robert Hunt's. So, Moore, he could help. Hunt, on the other hand, I would avoid putting him in. I would, because I don't think he's ready to go based on Canales' press conference. He seemed to think that the training staff is kind of holding him back. And I think the offensive line has been good enough. As good as Robert Hunt is, I don't know how much of a difference maker he is this week. I don't. And I would rather him get healthy than be a 90% risk of injury. Like, honestly, at a certain point, you need to make a decision for the guy, and you're paying him $100 million, $150 million, whatever it is. Big contract. Who knows what happens with David Moore and Robert Hunt. The linebackers are out. That's going to be an issue with Charles and Wallace out, but hopefully they can stop the run and run the ball, and Bryce Young can ball, and then I can be back here the next time. I don't know if it's going to be Sunday or Monday. I haven't made that decision yet, and we're going to talk. And the Falcons, go Birds, and let's go, man. Let's freaking go. I'm pulling, man. My heart's already like pumping. I weighed in 6'3", 250. 6'3", 250. If they win this game, I'll try out for the NFL, okay? I'll be running routes. But you're going to have to wait for draft time. Maybe I'll give you some combine content. This is The Tone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's freaking go.